Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Dungeons and Dopamine. Ta-da! Hello, welcome to Dungeons and Dopamine. I'm Jess.
I'm Brie.
And you know what I was going to do? And I had this planned in my head. I shouldn't tell you. I should do it on the next one. But I was going to say
You've
I'm
already
Brie.
ruined it.
Exactly. I was going to say I'm Brie and see if you followed by saying I'm Jess and just rolled with it. Or if you just if I just totally knocked you off.
Broke me and I had to leave. I had to leave
Stop
the
and
room and come back in and start over.
You just gather up all of your things and call and I have to go. I can't see you anymore.
I'm out. Sorry. It's just the one thing I couldn't handle this week.
That's the final straw. Yeah, I meant to do it. I had a mental note and everything and didn't remember until after I said my name correctly.
And then ruined it for any future episodes.
Exactly, by telling you exactly what I was going to do. It's okay. In 3 weeks, you will not remember this.
That's true.
I'll do it. And then you'll think it's even funnier.
So instead of answering at all, I'll just laugh.
Exactly. This is episode 65.
Yay!
Yay. A little more enthusiasm. No one believed that.
It's been that kind of week.
Confetti cannon. I feel like I just went from ha ha ha. Okay, let's talk.
We're serious now.
We're serious.
No more laughing.
Serious topic. So I'm really excited about my actual topic today.
Yay.
So excited. But before that, I have a really weird question for you. Would you ever own an Airbnb?
I think about this all the time. The time.
This is going to shock you, but I see videos on TikTok a lot.
What?
Things like what my guest left in my Airbnb, or let's see the state of the Airbnb now that they've checked out. And so I watch these videos and it ranges wholly. The one I watched today, they had a whole balloon. It was a gorgeous balloon arch. And then tons of food and alcohol that had not been opened. The people in the comments were saying, this looks like a party that just got canceled.
Right.
They canceled it was a wedding shower or a wedding, congrats party or something.
Oh.
But it looked fully canceled. And it was thousands of dollars in booze and food not touched.
Gosh, I want to know the back.
I
was
know.
it canceled? Was it canceled because they broke up? Did somebody die?
Right.
Did they just overplan and 5 people showed up instead of 500?
Exact. Or did that many people show up and they were like me and make too much of everything? But it was all really neat. Or did this account owner know that it would get views and get comments and they were having a wedding shower? They just filmed it before the shower.
Right, it's all staged.
That everything goes through your mind could this be?
Zach and I on 2 occasions have made out like bandits.
I don't think I could eat or drink anything that was already open.
Agreed.
Even a gallon of milk, if it was only a cup that had been poured out of it,
I would still dump it.
There's 96% chance that the people who left it were totally normal and were oh, someone can drink this, they can drink it if they want. And then there's that 4% chance that they were absolutely disgusting.
Weirdos or drug users,
Yes.
They put GHB in their milk. I don't know. Who knows? People are weird.
Pranksters, and they hawk a loogie in it because how funny is that?
Right.
But if it was sealed shut, if the gallon of milk hadn't been opened, I would absolutely take it.
100%.
And I might wash off the outside just in case.
Just in case, but yeah, I'm not turning that down.
Yeah, but then I see the horror story. So this same girl, because once I saw that, I had to of course go through her whole profile.
Of course.
The same girl posted a guest who'd come in, and she said, I never expected this to go badly. They were really polite the whole time. They were really friendly. They were really responsive. And they destroyed a bunch of furniture. It took them 8 hours, a plumber, a painter, a repairman to get all the damage taken care of.
Oh my goodness.
That's so much.
That's what stops me from... And, I mean, short-term rentals, the logistics and the legalities of running them are getting so convoluted now anyway. But I need some transitional housing for people that are selling their house and buying another house and need a month or a week or whatever in between to just land for a minute, if they can't get into their new house in time or if the closings aren't going right.
And it seems like in our state, in where we live in particular, that would be a really easy thing to have in the winter, but not the entire rest of the year.
Exactly.
So our spring, summer, and falls, with everything we offer and the way things look those seasons, you've got like your ugly season of February where you've got like the muck and the gray and nothing's growing. It's all soggy, but
the rest of the year is, and we see that in real estate. So it's really easy in winter. We see it all. Post will go up. Hey, I need just a couple week rental for a family, and everybody's like, oh, I have an off season lakefront property that they can use for a month or whatever. But in the summer, and even by springtime, it's filled up, or it's $1,000 a week or $2,000 a week or something extreme. So I do want some version of like short-term rentals, but they would be less vacation rental and more transitional housing for like specific situations.
Yeah, and I've heard so many horror stories now about Airbnb, the ways people are taking advantage of it, and
it's more expensive to stay in an Airbnb now because the cleaning fees are always like $600, plus then there's still a list of all the chores you have to do before you leave.
I leave places more clean than when I got there usually because there are rules and I don't want to lose out on any fees or have to pay more.
They're like, I just need you to wash all the dishes in my kitchen and do all the laundry in my house.
Can you please give my dog a bath? He's not at this location. You'll have to come find him.
If there are any dead light bulbs, please make sure you replace them.
Exactly.
I don't keep any on site, so you also have to go buy them.
I don't think I would. And just to answer my own question, I don't think I'd have an Airbnb. I think I would hate it.
It's a lot of upkeep.
Yeah.
And people are rude. I have a friend that does some property management, kind of Airbnb style, and she was actually helping manage this little motel that is kind of being used for like short-term rental boutique motel thing. And like people would try to get into their room at 1 a.m. and they'd be drunk and they wouldn't know the code or the key wouldn't work or something crazy, and they'd blow up her phone at 1:30 in the morning, which I get because they're trying to get into their place to sleep. But 9 times out of 10, it was user error. They were putting in the wrong code, or they were drunk and forgot the code, or whatever. And she gave it, I think she only lasted like a year, and then...
Yeah, and I think if I was like younger, or if I was single, it might be more fun. But no.
No thanks.
I just don't.
You just want to be able to go in and decorate all the Airbnbs.
Exactly.
Because I would like to have a cool like themed one. Or a couple cool like book themed. When we have tons of disposable money, we can do different like book themed huts.
The Ceramos compound.
Or like fantasy compound. There'd be like a Tolkien land.
Yes.
Or like older fantasy and dragon fantasy and romancy fantasy.
For like couples who are fighting, we can have like the Hunger Games. Just be an arena with a dirt floor and knives. It's gonna be amazing.
Good luck. May the odds be ever in your favor.
I'm in. This sounds amazing.
We're gonna be rich.
Do you know who did not have the odds in their favor?
No.
The dog man of Michigan. I'm kidding. Kidding. That joke is so old.
I'm revisiting the dog man of Michigan. We don't talk about him enough, so I've decided to dedicate a whole nother episode to him.
I'm gonna tell it word for word the way I did before, except in dog barks.
That would be beautiful. Please practice that for next week.
Oh, you got it. Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to tell you I don't even know the right words. I'm so excited. Okay, this story is very creepy. It is very mysterious. It's a little sad because of a lot of deaths, but it is also wildly intriguing. It turns out that I ended up turning this into a 2-part episode.
I love it when your topics turn into 2-parters.
I know. It's because I get so excited. So you guys will you'll hear this one, you'll hear a different episode with a whole different topic, and then you'll be back to this. So you have to come back and revisit this episode, which is totally cool. That helps our numbers. So, but
it's like a cliffhanger episode with a musical episode in between.
Exactly. It's when they leave the main characters in some sort of predicament, and then they go tell a story about the side characters that you don't care about,
like the Tower of Dawn book and Throne of Glass that everybody hates until they get to the end of it, and then they're like, okay, I'm glad I read it.
I'm in. Exactly like that. So what I'm going to tell you about today has a lot of fun Russian words and names in it.
Our
Sorry
favorite.
Before. I will give you a trigger warning. This has a lot of violence in it. Or I guess maybe not even violence, but a lot of talk about conditions that people were found in that were not good.
Okay.
So this is the story of the Dyatlov Pass incident. I'm so excited.
Wait, what? It's what?
The Dyatlov, Dyatlov Pass incident.
All right.
All right. And I'm so excited about this.
You guys should see the joy on her face right now.
It's so mysterious. I'm so
Yay.
excited. Okay. In 1959, in the Soviet Union, a man named Igor Dyatlov formed a group of hikers amongst his student body at university to take a hiking, cross-country skiing style expedition. All of them were very experienced hikers, and I'm going to tell you more about them soon. And the reason they wanted to do this was, one, for just adventure and exploration. They were all in their young 20s mostly, and just really wanted to get out there and experience it and have some fun. They wanted the physical challenge. They were trying to reach the summit of Mount Otorin, which actually translates to "don't go there."
Oh, that sounds fun.
They probably should have listened, but then I wouldn't be telling you this. So
we're glad they didn't.
Oh gosh, I can't even.
Works out well for me.
You guys are gonna love it. They also had some scientific research that they wanted to accomplish. They just wanted to, hang out. They were friends. They just wanted to do this together.
They just wanted to go on an adventure together.
Exactly. And then Dyatlov himself, Igor himself, was planning to do an even more difficult hike after this. And this was just, his working up to it level kind of thing. Igor approached all of his friends. They decided they were going to go on this hike. And it ended up being 9 people, 7 men and 2 women. So this whole incident, I guess this is a timeout in my story. And I just want to tell you, this whole incident is full of conspiracy and mystery and possible aliens or big feet or
all of our favorite things.
It's full of all of the Jessica stuff.
Cryptids and
it's
mystery
and dopamine
and
for me.
Death.
So much death. We're having so much fun. Fun with death. Our spin-off show.
It wouldn't be a Jessica topic if no one died, okay?
Exactly. So, I want you to keep that in mind as I tell you the story. So, Igor got these people together. Oh, and I'm sorry, it was 10 people. I lied to you. 10 people, 8 men, 2 women. The incident is clearly now named after Igor. It's very well known amongst the horror mystery crew. I think I very first heard about this on That's Why We Drink. If you don't hear me say TikTok and That's Why We Drink in an episode, there's something wrong.
We could make that into like a bingo or a drinking game.
Exactly.
Drink every time Jessica mentions.
It's perfect. Unless it's us drinking, then we're going to be in so much trouble.
I don't know, it could be fun.
So then,
this episode's the best.
I'm the best day of my life. Igor, he was considered a really talented engineer. He had created and assembled a radio for himself that he was going to be bringing along. It's also said that he built their camp stove that they were going to be using. He was really a brave guy. He was a confident guy. He was very physical and just kind of an altogether good guy. He worked somewhere where someone had stolen and drank a can of condensed milk and went to him and said, I really regret this. I feel horrible.
I don't feel good now.
Yeah. But instead of exposing him and potentially getting him into a lot of trouble, he just said, okay, well, you're going to go pay for it. And then you're going to go pay for it.
And then you're going to go puke.
Exactly. So he was the kind of guy, he wanted it to be fair, but he didn't want to blast you or like tear you down. He was just a pretty good dude.
I like him. I like old Igor.
I do too.
I feel like him and Dorfelt would have gotten along very well.
Yes, exactly.
They could invent things together
yes.
and be nice humans.
1959. When was Dor?
I think he was dead by then.
Okay. So, sorry guys, you missed each other. So, Igor's dead now too.
They can be together now.
They're together now. The next person in this group was Yuri Doroshenko, sorry. He was kind of known for being an impulsive guy, but also he was like a runner. He was really active. He was known for, on one of his expeditions, he ran at a bear with a hammer to protect his hiking mates. Oh. So that's a pretty good guy.
Yeah.
There was
He's
a
like,
woman.
Let me get this for you.
Exactly. I'm not letting this bear hurt any of us. He was seeing one of the women on the expedition, but they broke up before the expedition began. And it would appear that they weren't together. Like, they were friendly, but not together at all during the expedition, which is not entirely relevant, but it's just an interesting fact. Basically,
good to know. I did wonder. I'm like, that, okay, 2 women and 8 men, like, right. There's got to be someone in there.
Gotta be someone hooking up. But also, I've known this story really well for a long time. I could have told it without doing any research. But when I started researching, I started learning more about these people and their personalities, and it really struck something with me. It turned it from just being like a cool mystery story to being kind of legit and pulling at my heartstrings a little bit.
Aww.
So, with that's why I'm sharing this information. There was a woman, Ludmila Dubininia. I think I put too many N's in there. It's a very Russian name. She was wonderful.
This lady.
Exactly. She was a 4th-year student at the university, and she was the youngest on the hike. But she was very experienced. In fact, on one of her hikes, she got shot accidentally by a hunter who was accompanying the group on their hike, and she still just went on the journey. Like, she went there and back.
No big deal.
Yeah,
I'm honestly okay. Don't feel bad. I'm fine.
Exactly. So, kind of wild. Like, that's incredible.
And she was the youngest?
Yes. She was really smart. She was fair. She was really truthful, honest, brave, obviously. So, she had also led some hikes, and all of the students just loved her. They just thought she was amazing. There was another Yuri on the expedition. I'm going to try and say his last name. Krivanashenko.
That sounded good to me.
Excellent.
I'm sure
speak
that's
Russian.
Exactly what it is.
He was a really good friend to these folks, and he kind of always went with Igor on his expeditions. He was known as a jokester, kind of like joking, pulling pranks, but he was a really good friend. He also was a specialist engineer who worked occasionally with radioactive materials and had radioactive exposure.
Okay.
Just keep that nugget tucked away in your head.
I feel like that'll be important later.
Otherwise, why would I say it? Alexander Koletov, he was a fourth-year student and had worked as a ski instructor. He was working to gain the rank of like master or expert in his hiking skiing experience. And that's why he joined the group. His birthday ended up being during the hike, and the crew gave him an orange, like a mandarin orange, and he shared it amongst the group.
Oh,
I know. And then it just speaks to the kind of person.
Cake.
Yeah, honestly. And then that'd probably be a pretty rare gift while they're hiking because you take what you need.
Right.
And that had to have been easy to squish and ruin. And so the fact that he had that was probably a really treat. And the fact that he shared it kind of showed his person.
Yeah.
You know, what kind of person he was.
He wasn't like, this is my birthday present.
Exactly. So they did that 2 days before the incident took place, which is just really sad.
Dun.
Yeah. Nikolay Thibodeau Brinoli. He was a major in civil engineering. He was working in construction, and I believe was also the other he was the other member of the team that could have had radiation exposure. I might find out later that I'm wrong, but I believe it was him. He was a really energetic, friendly guy and just kind of a funny, peppy dude. Not a lot of stories about him, but he was just a overall well-liked guy.
Good part of the team.
Yeah, it sounds like this whole group was a really well-enjoyed group of people. Semiran Zalotaro was an instructor at the time of his death. He was the oldest and most mysterious member of the group. I just want you to think about him, remember him. From my research, I found that he was around 30 years old. It varied a little from here and there. It kind of always does in records like that. But in his early 30s is kind of what I've deduced. And he didn't know anybody before he went on the hike. He was just sort of suggested by some of the students at the university and then tossed into the group. Which the group said that he, in their notes and in their diaries and journals and stuff like that, said he was friendly and worked with everybody well. But he was kind of a big dude, kind of a big, strong guy. He had served in the military through the entire Second World War and had 4 military awards. So, very interesting. This one is maybe my favorite. It's another one of the women. Zinadaya Kalamogorova. If I could just do these with more confidence, everyone would believe me.
Absolutely.
Her name is Zina. She was a 5th-year student.
She's a warrior princess.
Exactly. She was a 5th-year student at the university and an experienced hiker. She had once been on a hike and got bitten by a viper. Yeah.
No big deal.
No big deal. She was a warrior princess.
Right?
And on that same hike, she refused to allow anyone to take her load because it would make their load bigger. So even though she had just been bitten by a viper, she carried her entire pack and finished the hike.
Oh my goodness. I'd be like, I can't go on.
I know.
You all have to carry me.
I knew it should.
I can't not finish.
And to be me in my backyard if I got bit by a garden snake, by a mosquito.
Not even bit, like
if I saw one. Exactly. So she was really liked by everyone. Out of everyone in the group, she was probably the most well-liked. Rustam Slobodan was graduated already, but only 1 year before the adventure. He was a good guy. He didn't say a lot, but he was a runner and a hiker. And obviously, I'm saying all this to prove that all of these people were just really athletic and well versed in these kinds of conditions and these kinds of experiences and not weak.
It wasn't like a bunch of teenagers that were like, we're going to go on an adventure.
Exactly.
And didn't plan properly and didn't know what they were doing.
These people knew that they were there. They knew. Yuri Yurdin was the final one of the hike. He actually had to leave the hike mid-hike because he suffered from several different issues, and just as they got going realized he was not going to be able to make it. So he headed home and made it and lived until 2013.
Oh.
So let's get into this whole incident. Now
Right.
you know this
What's
really
the
cool
incident?
crew of people that I would absolutely hang out with until they asked me to go hiking with them. I'd be like, oh no, I'm good. I'm gonna go home.
I'll stay back.
I'll take care of your cats.
Take one for the team.
Exactly. On January 25th, 1959, these students started hiking. The hike that they were taking was considered a level 3, which was the most difficult at the time.
Okay.
That
would have been my next question.
Yep. Someone said at the time, which leads me to believe, I don't know if the conditions of the mountain have changed now, or if people hiking it after this incident and visiting it so often because of the incident has just made it more accessible. People know more about it now, more charted. So I'm not sure if that was anything, but it's kind of an interesting thought. So they started on the 25th. They went along. The hike started to do pretty well. They got to January 28th, so 3 days into their hike, and that is when Yuri had to head back. He just couldn't do it anymore. And a ton of joint pain. Someone had said sciatica? Sciatica? Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. He had stuff.
Like a hip,
yeah,
back pain,
and knees,
like shooting,
bad
stabby.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, yeah, your sciatic nerve, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, yes, got you. So, yeah, he was having a lot of those issues, and he headed back. So now there were 9 on the hike. Maybe that was right. I originally said 9. I don't know. Let's just pretend I know what I'm talking about, okay? So as they inched closer and closer to the incident, they celebrated their friend's birthday. And then on January 31st, they started a more difficult part of the climb itself. They'd gotten themselves all set up and everything. And then on February 1st, they started through the pass, which is now Dyatlov Pass. I'm trying not to give you too much information, but to give you the good information. So the weather was, of course, as it is in all of these stories, starting to get worse and worse. And unfortunately, they kind of took a detour because of visibility.
Okay.
When they finally realized their mistake, they were 1.5 kilometers off track from where they meant to be. So they decided to stop and camp so that they could rest up and get back to where they wanted to be. Where they camped, and I don't know anything about this. If you put me in this situation, I would have died before Yuri left.
Day 1.
Exactly.
We don't know why, but Jessica just died.
Just died. She looked at a snake and died. I'm just so actually alive but wiggling away from the group on the ground so they won't notice me.
Go on without me. I'll never make it.
Apparently where they set up to camp on the slope was actually a little too slopey. It's kind of weird that they decided to camp there.
Yeah.
But it was either thought that maybe Igor didn't want to lose what they had already gained in altitude, or that they were practicing for when they would get even higher up and just
acclimating to the elevation and
setting up camp in a semi-snowy kind of crazy area. They did that, and they also stayed in sort of a wooded area that would offer protection from the increasingly rough winds. They spent their final day. It seemed in really good spirits. They created like a pamphlet. It was really fun and kind of silly about Yetis. And how...
They do sound like our kind of people.
I know! They would have loved this podcast.
They would have been our biggest fans.
So they talked about that. They made this pamphlet about it. They all had a journal and then a group journal that they all wrote in.
Oh, that's
They all
cool.
seemed to truly be in great spirits. Like there wasn't any big hardships or anything that they speak of. One image does have one of the guys, his coat had gotten burnt, and they thought maybe like the camp stove, or he laid it down next to the fire to dry it and then got too dry. You know, something along those lines, but nothing that like sent them back or concerned them. That was that. That was the end of them, unfortunately.
But
And that was it. Done.
they're all dead.
So they the school was waiting for I don't know what kind of university this was, but they were waiting on the students to report back. Maybe that was part of their science and expedition thing. They were trying to get that information. But the school was waiting for them to respond and send telegram or whatever about the expedition, and they just weren't getting it. It took a really long time. It didn't strike them as odd yet because Igor had thought that this was probably going to take a little longer than they had expected, just because of the difficulty of the hike. Mm-hmm. But eventually, with pushing by family, the family and the school finally really got pushing, and on February 20th, they finally started looking for these kids.
So like 20 days.
Yes. It was a long way out. So
never would have happened nowadays.
Right?
By day 2, parents would have been like, Where's my child?
Kid? Their
GPS tracker isn't working.
Exactly. On the morning of February 26th, rescuers found their abandoned and badly damaged tent on the hill, mountain. The tent was torn in half and covered with snow and was empty, except all of their belongings and shoes were left behind near the tent. This is where we start to get crazy. Mm-hmm. They found a chain of 8 or 9 sets of footprints left by several people who were wearing socks or a single shoe or completely barefoot going downhill toward the edge of the nearby woods. This is the opposite side of the pass. These are all in meters. I'm sorry I did not convert them to feet.
Damn it, Jessica.
I know.
I'm never going to understand.
500 meters later, the footprints were just starting to be covered in snow. At the edge of the forest, they found an old tree, and they found their first 2 bodies underneath the tree. So the tree, forensics of the tree bark said that there was their skin in the tree, and there was a spot. How do I explain this? They had a visual in the video that I saw. It was amazing. So it was almost like about 5 feet up, they shaved the whole tree of its branches. And then on one side, all the branches were missing, except then there was a plateau that they'd created to sit in, like a watchtower point. That was facing their tent. Then was the skin theirs? Was it proven? Testing, and I guess as best as they can do back then, yes, the skin was theirs. So it appeared they had climbed the tree, they'd cut down all these branches, they had a small fire pit there. So they had done all of that, and then maybe sat in the tree and fallen out of it. One of them was found. These were Yuri Kuroshenko and Yuri Doroshenko. They were both without footwear. They were both naked. They were only in their underwear. Both of their hands were pretty demolished from the climbing, and one of them had actually had a bite out of his hand that they found in his mouth. So he'd done it to himself. They had a really strange mortise. So normally with liver mortise, it pulls to their side. Theirs was pulled, I think, on their stomach or their back, suggesting that the bodies were turned over after they were dead.
Okay.
So.
Suspicious.
Right. So, it was on their front. So, there we go. The next day, on February 27th, they found Igor and Zina about 300 and about 600 meters from the cedar tree to the tent. And then, after 6 days, they found the body of Rustam, and that was about 480 meters from that cedar tree. But they could tell by their poses that they were all trying to return to their tent at that point.
Okay.
And had died in their return. It took them 2 more months to find the 4 remaining bodies. On May 5th, they found the other 4 in a ravine about 75 meters farther down into the woods from the cedar tree. They were buried under 4 meters of snow. They were wearing clothes from their team members who had died. So probably the post-mortem movement of the 2 men, the 2 Yuris, were them removing their clothing. These guys are already gone. We need to collect these clothes and go.
Clothes.
Yep. Weird thing is a lot of them had injuries that are consistent with a car accident. So fast, brutal, blunt force injuries.
What?
These 4 had dug a den out of the snow and laid branches down to sit and be on. There were some more clothes on the branches, maybe creating like a soft place or a warmer place to sit. Mm-hmm. And one of the men, and I took inadequate notes, so I don't remember which one. One of the men was found with weird kind of foamy residue on his lips. And it's really closely associated with something that happens to people who are interrogated by NKVD, which were Stalin's secret police.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know if the microphone picked up my finger cracking, but I was making quotation marks and my finger cracked. So
that's how you know she's making hand gestures.
Exactly. This was kind of overlooked in, like, it wasn't really in the autopsy reports and things, just sort of from the people who had found the bodies being reported. So it was really interesting. Mm-hmm. Now our friend who was tossed into this group as an, older dude, this is the weird one. And I don't want to say too much because I have so much more to say about it coming. He was found with a camera. The weird thing about this camera is that the group had a total of 4 or 5 cameras that were seen amongst everyone and well documented. This was another camera. This was not one of those cameras. Yuri, that had to go home, said that camera wasn't with us. Or I'd never seen that camera. So did this guy bring it along? Did they find it later? Why did he have it? He also had a notebook in his hand and a pen. And when one of the sergeants, went up and picked it up, he said, "Oh, shoot, he didn't write anything in it." Probably less PC. And then pocketed it. And it was never seen again. It was never talked about. It was never seen again.
That's pretty sus.
Yes.
Just this blank notebook. I'm just going to put it here in my pocket.
How strange.
Safekeeping.
So, I'm going to wrap up because I've gone a long time. But, so far, that's basically the Dyatlov Pass indecent. It's the indecent Dyatlov Pass. No, I can't say it either. Exactly. I've passed it on. You're so welcome. So, in conclusion, these really cool 9 students and random old man. Okay, sorry, he's 30s. He's not old. I shouldn't say that. All went out for a hike. They were all experienced hikers. They were found later, all dead, with weird injuries, and seemingly no explanation of why.
And a brand new camera.
Oh, so many weird things.
Nobody can account for.
So, I will have a lot more to tell you about this and the theories. And, I didn't mention, so they had said that the tent was torn apart. Mm-hmm. So what had actually happened was the tent had been cut open. Investigators originally did think that possibly someone sliced it open, forced them out of their tent without their shoes and everything like that. But later it was discovered that the tent was sliced open from the inside. What would cause 10 very experienced, very athletic, very, I would say, brave individuals to flee from their tent in the middle of a snowstorm in the mountains without their winter gear? And that is all I have to say on that.
I don't like it.
Isn't it crazy?
Huh.
It's crazy. I'm so sorry I talked for so long.
I'm gonna not pass judgment or try to think about it too much until you can finish it.
I also have a really fabulous video that I want to share with you guys when a lot of my information came from this. Like I said, I've known a lot about this incident, and one of the reasons I chose to tell you is because I thought it was interesting. But this video was like chef's kiss of this incident. I've never seen more information, and it had videos and like scientific showings of what injuries were on the bodies. It was fascinating. I would highly suggest, if you're interested, after I do my second episode on
you have to wait.
Go check out the video.
Don't go Googling it yet.
Not yet.
That's incredible.
It's crazy, right? I didn't even do it justice. It's so good. I'm probably reading so many good details. It's so interesting.
Some expert somewhere is like, no, you're doing it all wrong.
Exactly. You forgot to tell them about this.
That's how they feel about like my Voynich manuscript one too. They're like, no.
Why?
Who are these women? Why are they covering these topics?
Tell them to stop.
I love it. My topic today is very fluffy.
Yay.
And I love it. So I am talking about manifestation.
Okay.
And whether or not there is any science behind manifestation. Because
of course.
we know how much I love science-backed facts. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I picked this, partly because Jessica said so. Well, she gave me some ideas and I ran with it this way. But I think there's definitely an interesting trend going on both in book and especially on like TikTok and social media with influencers about this, people are manifesting their reality. But obviously it bugs my brain because that is not a scientific thing. But really, if you think about it, if you break down manifestation and kind of get away from the trendy part, it's really just hope, prayer. It's those positive thinking. That's all types of manifestation, or at the very basic, that is what manifestation is. It's the trend or the influencers. You see it a lot with like MLM, boss babe, mom, boss
Please,
babe,
at the
social
end of this,
media.
Trying to sell us Herbalife.
Absolutely. No, never.
So if you guys want to manifest along with me,
no, I would be selling a course because that's
obviously.
The new thing.
Duh. Okay.
But whether you are praying to a deity, asking for help or success or guidance, or wishing on stars, or burning tiny pieces of paper with your hopes written on them, again, this is all different types of manifestation. And I don't have a problem with that. I won't even say I'm skeptical of that type of thing. It's just these new influencers that I'll talk a little bit more about later. But the message is pretty consistent no matter where you're getting it from. It is that if you believe or say or visualize what you want in life, it will come true. The new influencers are obviously focusing on like, if you want to be rich, then you just tell the universe that you want to be rich and you get the right vibe. And if your vibrations are right, you will become rich.
Dear universe.
Right?
Listen up.
And I guess this is where the problem comes in for me. And this is why, of course, because I always want to end on a good note, I'm going to talk about the negative parts of this first. This is, I think, what really pings the skeptical part of my brain, maybe why I have a bad taste in my mouth about this manifesting destiny trend. I think it can be kind of dangerous because we have these influencers on social media and TikTok, and they're using these buzzwords and they're telling us things like, if you want to be a writer, just tell the universe you want to be a writer and then act like a writer. All you have to do is do it. All you have to do is say it. All you have to do is believe it and it will come true. And that's fine to an extent, but we live in a day and age where this message is getting put out to everybody of all walks, of all ages, of all situations and economic statuses. And manifestation is really a rich person thing. You can manifest your destiny all you want if you have unlimited resources and unlimited time and all the support in the world to do what you want. So a rich girl on TikTok that has well-to-do parents and a very stable life, it's easy for her to get up and say, I'm going to be a writer, because she has parents that will support her while she writes every day. She has parents that maybe have connections to publishers or people that know publishers that they can hook her up with. They can give her the best technology to write that book on, or send her to classes where she can learn to be a writer, help her with editing. It doesn't work the same if you don't have those resources. So we have all these influencers that are on social media or writing these books, and they're saying all you have to do is believe, all you have to do is think positive thoughts and be positive, and this will all come to you. The universe will give this to you. And they're doing it, and they're showing it, and they've got all these nice things. But then what happens to the people that don't have support or money or resources or time, especially the knowledge to know that positive thinking is helpful and positive thinking is a good thing, but it isn't the only thing that gets you where you need to be. And now these influencers are selling books and they're selling courses. Then either you run out of money because you've been giving all of your money to this influencer and you have nothing left to actually make your dreams come true. And the narrative doesn't become, oh, I tried and I failed because I didn't have the support. The narrative becomes, I tried and I failed. It must be because the universe doesn't like me, or I'm not doing it right, or I'm not thinking positively enough. And I've noticed in a lot of these books and these courses, they use a lot of risk-taking encouragement. So it's, if you want to be rich, you have to start living like you're rich. You have to go use your last $10 to buy this course of mine that'll help you manifest more money. Or go, extend your credit to buy a nice car so that I actually read this in one of the books. I went out and bought a car I couldn't afford because I knew that would push me to have to make money, because now I can't afford my lifestyle, so I have to make more money.
But there you sit with someone to bail you out if you fail.
Right. And they really are taking advantage of people that doesn't work out for. And then it becomes a psychological problem where now they've convinced these people that not only are they failing, they're failing and it's their fault because they weren't positive enough, or they didn't vibe right, or they didn't, journal enough. It's gross and it's terrifying. And I think it's given a really bad name, and even put it in my brain that manifestation has become like basically snake oil. It's being peddled by snake oil salesmen. So at this point, I obviously sound very skeptical. But I will admit, I have bought into some of this. I have bought some of these books. I have, listened to the TikTok, and I'm not saying that they don't work, but I'm saying that we need to be more careful about the words we're using to sell these products, but also be careful believing these products, especially if you're listening to this podcast and you are someone that has ADHD. I feel like these people are preying on people like us specifically, because not only are they using our lack of impulse control against us. Hey, all you have to do is buy my book for $14.99 and you'll be a millionaire. Well, $15, that's nothing. That's like, I spend that on garbage every day. I can spend $15.90 or $14.99 to be rich. And then it's probably a subscription that they're going to get me on every month, and so on and so forth. Plus, with ADHD, we're very easy to get excited about an idea. So a motivational speaker that is good at their job is going to do a great job getting me excited and getting me energized and getting me ready to go about whatever she just talked about, or, get me fired up that, yeah, I can do this. I can be a millionaire too. But we tend to have short attention spans. So it's great for them to get us energized and excited while we're in the room with them and they want our money. And then they're kind of, maybe they're not evil and expecting us to just forget about it and give up a couple days later. But that tends to be what we do if it's not immediately in front of our face all the time. That's kind of the negative part about this, and what I wanted to get out in the forefront before I get into whether or not there is any actual science behind manifestation. And the short answer is no, there's not. This is kind of like my sliders episode, the people that interfere with electrical things. There's a lot of anecdotal stories. There's a lot of people that claim they know how to manifest. Obviously, there's people selling courses about manifestation that you can pay them and you will learn to manifest your destiny. There is no scientific research. But the interesting part about manifestation is there is a gray area of this topic, which is, of course, my favorite thing in the world. There are parts of manifestation that work. There are parts of manifestation that have been and are scientifically studied and proven. And there are also a lot of theories as to why manifestation appears to work. And then, of course, a couple thousand anecdotal stories that I honestly don't get into, but they're fun to, if you get on Reddit or Google or whatever. Some of them you can see right through them, and some of you are like, oh, that is kind of cool, actually.
It's interesting.
Going back to the whole, basics of manifestation being just basically hopes, prayers, positive thinking, the most recognizable, studyable aspect of this is just the placebo effect. And this is very well documented. We've been hearing about this for years. They actually have to control for it when they're doing medical studies on medication. That's why there is a placebo group, because we now know that just the thought of taking medication or just the thought of having something that helps us does have positive effects on our body. So even if you have high cholesterol and you're in a study, even the people that got the placebo pill would see drops in their cholesterol or whatever the medication was supposed to be doing. And this is literally part of manifestation. It's essentially a positive thought that the medication I'm taking is improving my life, and it improves my life.
Especially in a medical situation, because you already feel very hopeless a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I can absolutely see that.
And just in general, positive thinking. We know there are plenty of scientifically researched studies now that show that positive thinking can have a positive effect on many areas of our lives. This can be health related, this can be, emotionally related. People talk about this in therapy all the time. We talk about it on our episodes sometimes. Just the idea, you're working on talking to yourself positively and treating yourself positively. If you're in therapy, a lot of the time is changing your negative narrative. If you are applying for a job, we know that it's better for you to say, I can do this. I'm going to get this job. I am smart enough for this job. I have all of these tools. I have all of this knowledge. Whereas with negative thought, if you go into an interview or you're preparing for an interview and you're telling yourself, I'm too stupid for this. There's no way I'm going to get this. I don't have enough experience. These become self-fulfilling prophecies. If you don't think you can do it, if you don't believe that you deserve it, you probably won't get it. But if you do believe that you deserve it, if you have power, the positive thoughts, with job interviews, obviously you don't always get the job, but it does tend to show more positive outcomes when you have positive thinking. Another part of manifestation that has actually been studied and proven to have some success is visualization. So top performing athletes and other very successful, powerful people will use visualization as practice, especially most of what I read involved sports stars. So I'm sure Simone Biles, getting ready for her to win her gold medals in the Olympics, is not only physically practicing all of these gymnastics routines, but she probably sits and visualizes herself completing these routines as well. And the studies show that just the act of visualization can not only improve your performance, but obviously also it improves how you feel about going into a situation. It can be as simple as if you have to give a presentation at work. Not only, if you're nervous, not only do you get up and practice, to an empty room or stuffed animals or whatever you're practicing to, but just sitting and visualizing yourself giving the speech can help with the anxiety of the situation because you've already imagined yourself going through it and dealing with it. So visualization has been scientifically proven to have more positive impact on things. So those are 3 things that are kind of considered manifestation, kind of mystical parts of this that are actually scientifically proven and useful for these situations. Going back to the ADHD thing, and especially while talking about visualization, I find that I'm horrible at visualization. If you see the memes where, if you try to picture something in your head, how does it show up? And it's like an apple, and the 6th box is like a red apple that looks like an apple, and the first box is just like a white box of nothing. And you pick what your brain sees when you try to visualize stuff. I'm probably at a 3 And I wonder if that has an effect on my ability to manifest or visualize or have this positive thinking. Because if I have a hard time visualizing done or visualizing how a situation is going to go, I can see how that would affect my brain in a way that makes it harder for me to power through something. Because if I can't visualize how it's done, how can I know what my goal is? How do I know what the end is? And all the other stuff I talked about with the influencers and playing on our impulsiveness and our issues with executive function, how much of that is tied to just, marketing great to people that would fall prey to those schemes, and how much of it is our ADHD just kind of affects it so we can't use these things in the positive way that neurotypical people could. Even when it comes to, so that the one of the articles I read kind of twisted manifestation in a way that it obviously can be used in a powerful way if you combine it with goal planning and setting goals and making plans on how to reach them. But if you are someone that can't visualize well or can't imagine what something looks like at the end, then does manifestation even work for you? And none of these influencers and none of these self-help books are great at being like, okay, you have a goal, let's get there.
Step 1.
Those books are all the boring books that we don't want to read because it's step 1. You have to make a plan. And I'm like, I don't know how to make a plan because I don't even know what the apple looks like in my brain. Some of the other stuff they talked about that kind of related to manifestation, or like why manifestation and positive thinking works. Some of it is just, if you're manifesting things the way the influencers are pushing, you're writing down these goals, you're maybe putting it on your mirror, you're repeating it to yourself every day, you have a mantra that you're saying all the time. And that really is just keeping it in the front of your brain so it's constantly on your mind so that you're thinking about it. And especially for neurotypical people, sometimes that's all it takes. But it kind of goes towards like the chicken or the egg. Are you actually manifesting your destiny? Or is your positive thinking just pushing you to take the steps to meet your goals? So it's not mystical manifesting of this beautiful future that you magically got to. All you did was convince your brain to actually work towards your goals and then follow out that plan. And then some of the other things talked about, people think they're manifesting, but it's really just because that's what your brain is focusing on. So it seems like you're manifesting something the same way, you guys just bought a new car and now you probably notice that type of car every time you go out. You didn't manifest that suddenly that car was going to become popular. You are just now paying attention to that car because it is on your mind. Yes, there is science to manifestation, and yes, there are parts of manifesting that can be scientifically proven or are scientifically proven to be helpful, but really a lot of manifestation in the way we see it today in this new trend is at the basics of it, just people wishing upon a star and then actually making a plan and going forward.
Accidentally.
And making their life happen the way they want to.
Manifesting right now that this podcast is going to be in the top 10 for 2024.
I agree. Now we just need somebody that's really good at like goal setting and planning to help us get there, to help us manifest that.
I'm sure that's absolutely possible.
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
So that was my scientific explanation of something magical.
I love it. I always say that every single time. Next time I'm going to say I hate it. Next time I'm going to say
Worst
that I'm you.
episode ever.
And then I'm going to be like, why did you waste all of our time with that?
And then I'm going to cry.
Then I'll feel really bad. I don't really know what to follow that up with. It's a really hard thing to follow up. So I'm just going to look for our closing information. Information. I have one of those too. Manifesting that I'm going to find this really quickly. I know this has been Dungeons and Dopamine podcast, but I don't know anything else.
I know you can listen to us anywhere you stream podcasts and on YouTube.
You can reach out to us on... No, you can find us. Or you can support us. You can support us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/dungeonsdopamine. I manifest that all of you are going there.
And then you can find us
like a Hufflepuff.
Like a Hufflepuff, because Hufflepuffs are particularly good finders. On Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit.
And Stella really wants you to find us. I don't know if you can hear her, but she really wants us to.
She's cheering about it.
You can reach out to us on all of those social medias. Or
reach
at
for the stars.
at yahoo.com. There was a snake in my boot.
Dungeons and Dopamine is edited and published by Argyle Pigeon Productions. Who just died.
Sorry. Better luck next time. Okay, we love you.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.